Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unscripted Pharmacist Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about food in very practical terms and how you can be a successful dieter.
This is the Unscripted Pharmacist with Kyle Rootsaert, Doctor of Pharmacy and Board Certified in Advanced Diabetes Management, and Lenora Casey, Oncology Certified Registered Nurse. Because each person is unique, consider this as medical information, not medical advice. See your physician regarding what might be best for you.
This is going to be one of those podcasts where we're really going to break it down to the very practical terms as to what you put in your mouth on a regular basis. And I'm joined with Lenora, who's going to really dive into.
Right.
Eventually, we're going to even get into cost.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Because we want to help people start off this low carb, high fat kind of diet or lifestyle. We don't have to necessarily call it diet.
Right. It's kind of a bad four-letter word,
Yeah, it is
isn't
a
it?
four-letter
yeah,
word.
This is not a diet.
No.
This is
a lifestyle change.
Yeah, and people have dieted so many times and tried so many different things.
Yeah.
They probably lost their body weight several times, but they always seem to gain it back because this is the only one that actually really works. Like literally.
Yeah, but then people just, I don't know, maybe because of the way society is and our culture about food and processing and,
you're gonna
and
get
sugar.
Don't get me started on the whole vegan vegetarian thing because that doesn't work.
No,
Because
I think
in about 6 months' time, you will need some sort of supplement, and I think there's a lot of bad science out there that. We keep trying to like mull this thing over and hope that there's going to be basically we're going to hope that sugar's okay.
Right.
That's what that's what their goal is. But we know better.
No. Yeah.
There's a lot of really good rock solid science, and I would say it's kind of new. A lot of this science is really new based on because we didn't have the ability to measure a lot of things, and technology and science has gotten better. Now we know more. Now we can really see what the food does to our body. Mm-hmm. We've got some rock solid science. It's actually been around for a long time, like the Banting diet.
Right.
Way back in the 1800s, like, hey, this guy was fasting. He was doing a very low carbohydrate diet. And then we kind of like, we forgot about it until kind of somewhat recently. I think it was
just trying to make things easier as every's working. You know,
yeah,
it's that whole fast food
industrial
nation.
revolution. Yeah. And I kind of think of there's so many different perspectives I could throw at you, but it's one of them is if you think about carbohydrates, especially refined carbohydrates and sugar, this stuff is cheap. This is supposed to protect us against the famine.
Yeah.
There's no famine coming, man.
There isn't. Not currently.
No, not currently. But I also think from an environmental perspective, I think a low carbohydrate, higher fat diet is probably better for the environment. I would love to get into that.
That's a whole
different. Yes. But kind of some of the basic rules of, that word diet, of being a successful low carb ketogenic lifestyle person would be to control carbs. That's probably the most important thing because that will spike your insulin level, which we've talked about. On the other,
we've talked about that a lot.
Hyperinsulinemia, right? And if you're looking for something to do, this is just fun, okay? Go type in the word hyper, meaning high, and then insulin, and then emia, E-M-I-A. So type in hyperinsulinemia, and then just go hit images. So Google that, hit images, and you'll see a little gingerbread man. I love using this graphic because it's really informative. It will show you all the conditions, and that's not even complete. This is the tip of the iceberg.
Just, right.
And it shows you all of the conditions that are associated with having high insulin levels. And I'm sure most of us either know a family member or ourselves that have some of these conditions. Okay. So take a look at that. The other thing I would say, prioritize protein. Protein's absolutely critical.
Yeah, I don't think we as Americans don't eat enough of it because of that new lifestyle that they're pushing with veganism and even vegetarianism. They're not getting enough protein. Even though with vegetarianism you can use eggs.
Right.
But still, I mean, I don't think you're getting enough, not from a plant source.
Yeah, and as we get older, we need more protein, not less.
Yeah.
Even though be careful with the protein. Well, protein and fat need to come in this 1-to-1 ratio, and that is vital, okay? In order to digest the protein, you need acid. And as we get older, acid decreases. So when you eat the fat with the protein, the fat causes you to release bile acids. Bile acids. That helps you digest the protein. So that's why having this thing in a 1-to-1 ratio, the egg. The egg's like a very well balanced, like I think it's like 6 and 6 or 6 and 7 when it comes to protein and fat.
Oh, I haven't
Very
even
little
looked it up.
carbohydrates. Yeah, like you couldn't eat enough eggs. You really couldn't. They're just amazing. But anyways, that's why it comes that way in nature. That's why it's so beautiful, and that's why prioritizing protein, making sure that you get that protein. And I would say if you want to get nerdy on this, we're talking about 1.5 grams per kilogram or more. Okay, all the way up to 2.5. If you're a bodybuilder, obviously you're doing more, but as we get older, you need to bump that up. Forget about protecting your kidneys with your protein. If you're exceeding that protein, you're probably eating a different source of protein, and it's probably not animal. And the other thing I would say when it comes to plant protein, just because you ate it doesn't mean that it's absorbed.
Right.
Animal sources of protein have amazing absorption, and isn't that what it comes down? I put this in my mouth. Mm-hmm. What does it do? How much of it actually goes into my body is the most important thing. Not whether or not like you had fiber in there that kind of interfered with the absorption, because we never consider that. Plant protein is 16, 17% versus an egg, which is like 45% absorbed. And like animal, it's like 30 something, 35, 38%. Like it's about absorption here. Why would you ever want to ruin that, right? And we know from, if we look at essentially like archaeological information and Paleolithic information regarding the human body, how it's changed, the ability of the human body to absorb protein has increased. The small intestine's gotten bigger. The colon, where fermentation, where plant matter is digested, is gotten smaller. So I think that's I think it's important to understand that and to respect the fact that animal protein is supreme. It's ideal. It's really intended for human consumption. And then I would also say, don't fear fat. Forget about it, man. Stop with, saturated fat is a beautiful thing. And when you get fat, you get all three. You get the saturated, mono, and polys.
Right. So some examples of that are what? So fat
Animal.
off of meat.
Right.
Right.
Which is loaded with saturated mono and poly.
And poly.
Right. And then it also depends on what time of year you kill that animal.
Right. We had talked about that, I think,
the fatter animal, these are herbivores. We want to eat herbivores, and that's what man's lived off of, right? There's a lot of fat in this.
Yes.
Right? And then we have what other sources of fat do we have? We have oils.
We do. We have olive, coconut, and then
avocado. Right.
And of course, avocados are great sources of fat too.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, those
And I don't think people fear those things.
No, I don't think. Well, they actually, fear fat on meat.
Yeah, which is strange, but they're okay with the seed oils. That's
they're
insane.
fine. Well, you don't have to get into seed oils too much, but I mean, because that's a whole nother what's good, what's
why would
bad,
you eat that?
Right.
But it's unfortunate because it's in everything. It's polluted, and we could look at seed oil and look at cardiovascular disease pretty much when it was introduced, and we watched cardiovascular disease increase. Forget about the smoking part.
Right.
It's still...
Well, I mean, that played a part as well.
For sure.
Smoking, seed oils.
Right. But here's the problem. Like, you think that, if I eat these seed oils, this will be absorbed into my body and it's supposed to substitute the seed oil for animal fat, the saturated fat. Okay. And when you do that, you've still absorbed a whole bunch of plant sterols, right, which are really toxic as well. Not to mention you're ingesting something that's easily oxidizable.
Well, the other thing is
saturated fats are very stable.
Yes, but the seed oils are also highly processed.
Ultra processed. That is not natural.
Yes.
Just like sugar. There's a lot of things that we eat that's not natural that really, if you look at our diet has changed dramatically in the last 100, 150 years. Insane.
Yes.
We're not designed, maybe in like, I think 30, something like 30,000 years from now, we could increase our carbohydrate. We could actually adapt to this higher carbohydrate content.
Well, I don't know how evolution works, but yeah.
It would just take forever. How would you even
Darwinism,
calculate
so
that?
I'm not even sure.
And then the last thing I would say, fasting is really important.
Yes. Fasting is amazingly important for autophagy because, you got to, that one meal a day, just anything over maybe 12, 14 hours, if you skip a meal because you're sleeping through half of it.
Right.
And you skip that
Carbs
breakfast. Are gone. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Insulin levels are back down to normal.
And your body starts actually doing some amazing healing.
Right. Yeah. So this whole focus of the ketogenic diet is really to bring insulin levels down because that is the anabolic hormone. That is the hormone that stores. That is a hormone that inhibits autophagy. It's not your friend, okay? It's absolutely necessary for life, but we need to keep insulin levels as low as possible for as long as possible.
Yes.
And that's really the basics of the ketogenic lifestyle.
So
insulin lifestyle.
We talk. So some foods that you could eat that are low carb would be, of course, we talked about meat, cheese, some dairy, eggs, some of the veggies and fruits, because fruit has a seed. So, of course, avocado is considered a fruit.
Yeah,
and
fruit
then,
fat, for sure.
Nuts and seeds. Those are the things that I kind of think about when I eat.
Right. So when you think, so if I used this when I was teaching diabetes classes, if I had this cart full of like healthy foods, ask yourself, what would you grab? What would that cart look like, and what would you grab first? What would you grab last? What foods agree with you, and what foods that you would find the most satisfying, right? So I guess we should all take a step back and go like, all right, what's on that plate? What's your favorite?
Oh yeah.
I mean, and we evolve, right? Things change over time.
They do. I currently right now it's ribeye and eggs.
Oh, that does sound really good.
I know.
You're going to start
amazing.
drooling. See?
Well,
salivating. Okay, can I up that just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so that Boursin cheese that they sell at grocery outlet. I love that stuff. But anyways, smother that on top.
Oh,
and maybe some mushrooms.
Yeah.
And some Kerrygold butter.
Kerrygold butter is amazing. Butter.
Wow. Okay, this is not good. I am starving. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
it's good stuff.
No, but and so that's an example of like, you could have a steak, you could have a salad. If that's what you need to do, you could put an egg on the side or an egg on it or
a
butter.
Salad, or a steak salad.
A salad, right.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like, forget the sides.
Yeah.
It's almost like you kind of, like we're talking about eating alone here, right?
Right. But it's, even when you're eating alone and you're having a dinner, you could just make, I just have a steak, but we also put mushrooms on it that's been sauteed in butter.
Right. Yeah.
But that's our meal.
And so you're not fearing fat.
No.
You're prioritizing proteins.
Yes.
And I didn't hear a bunch of carbs other than there are some carbs.
Yes.
In the mushrooms.
Yeah, but not a lot because of the fiber.
No. So that's probably not going to make your insulin level spike.
No.
Pretty much at all. And when we did the continuous glucose monitor,
I don't even think it moved.
It was like you put something into the app.
Yeah.
You put your little note in, and it was like,
because I'm a note taker.
Why bother putting? I know your notes were incredibly long, but I was like, okay. So she describes this amazing meal, and it's like 2 sentences long. I'm like, okay, well, I don't see it. You could have said nothing. You could have said I had a glass of water, and you had the same response.
Yeah.
Your glucose levels. They don't do it. But I would say that your insulin levels may have gone up a little bit. We can't see that. Glucose and insulin, you can't see that. However, we can make some assumptions about when glucose levels spike, that insulin levels spike with it. Whether or not it's going to stay elevated for a period of time is, for some, and that's where the variation and variability, that's where the insulin resistance is a big part of that, because you could eat something that spike your glucose and it could stay elevated for hours, like 4 or 6 hours. And if you're a ketogenic, low insulin lifestyle, keeping insulin levels low throughout the day is almost like you're kind of like fasting the whole time. It's almost like you're continuing your fast by doing extremely low carbohydrate, and that's kind of the advantage. That's amazing advantage of living the low insulin and eating really, really low carbohydrates. So what else do we? What do we want to talk about?
So I think that, okay, so now maybe an individual has decided, okay, I want to do this low carb, high fat diet.
Right.
Let's not use
scared to death.
Lifestyle change. Yeah.
Just scared to death. This is going to cost me too much money. It's going to be really expensive. I'm not going to like these foods.
I think what people should look at before they even decide they're just going to totally change their whole lifestyle is take a look at their diet that they're eating now for a whole week.
Yeah.
Just what I did.
Save your wrapper, is that what you would say?
Well, yeah, not only that, I had apps. So like my Fitness Pal, Nom, there's so many of them. Oh my God.
Calorie King.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of them where you can look up
any kind of calorie counter.
Yeah.
Put all the food in there because you can just put in what you're eating. Or what?
Super Tracker. I don't know if it's still called that. But.
Or there's one of them that I can't remember the name.
And you can look up like any.
You can look up any of them.
Any
but
recipe
one of them,
or any ingredient.
You actually can take a photo of what you're eating.
Cool.
And it'll kind of put
ballpark what your nutrients are.
But
that's cool.
You could take a photo of every single thing that you put in your mouth that entire week because we have cameras readily available. Yeah. Hey, you stop at Starbucks, you get a drink, take a photo of it. You're eating a snack, take a photo of it. So that way you're looking at your entire week and looking at okay, what did I do this week?
Right.
What
was my total carbohydrate intake per day?
What about, or you can kind of ballpark it. Yeah. But you don't geek it out like I did, which I weigh everything.
Because you could become obsessed.
Yes.
And the fixation is on food.
Let's not do that.
You stopped though.
I did.
Okay.
Why? I had to stop.
I'm kind of curious as to why.
Because I have that personality, so I know myself. I could become, because for a full year, I tracked everything that went in my mouth through my Fitness Pal.
That's crazy.
Well, no, it became crazy because I was also like vegetarian and not doing. I dropped a lot of weight, but also I had. My dad had passed away during that time, and I was not mentally okay, and I had to focus on something. So all of a sudden, the diet took over, and so.
So that was your outlet for your anxiety?
That was my outlet.
Okay. And you kind of swapped.
Yeah. And then I have an addictive personality, so that's a problem too. So,
I think we all.
Yeah,
you got to give yourself. We're all there.
It's okay.
We all have.
It was okay
whatever
until
the heck it is.
My husband had touched my arm, and he realized I had muscle wasting, and he was very concerned, and he kind of jolted me a little bit, say, you need to start eating meat because I'm not well.
Oh, so he noticed.
Yeah, he noticed, and the doctor at the time that I worked for had pulled me aside and said, you're losing too much weight.
So you were just losing fat, you were probably learning.
I was probably losing
more
muscle as well, and so I switched everything up. I said, "Okay, I'll try. I'll eat more meat. I'll make a conscious effort." So I deleted the app on my phone.
Okay.
And at that time, my husband was real happy because he's been keto for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll change.
A change for you.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. But it took.
It wasn't a forced change.
It wasn't. But it took people.
Who cared about
about me to say, hey,
that's nice.
You're entering in a dangerous space. Yeah. So it was very helpful.
Yeah.
And then I changed. Neat. Now, not all the way, because I have a resistance gene.
Right. Okay.
But that's okay.
Yeah, but you're now.
But overall, I have changed immensely. Okay. So what it took was and then I started looking at what am I eating, what am I supposed to eat, how am I supposed to eat.
So he kind of taught you and brought you along. That's cool.
Yeah, he kind of brought me up to speed, even though I knew all along because I saw what he was eating.
Right. But I think for someone who's trying to do this on their own, this could be a different.
Yeah, it could be very
significant struggle.
So all you have to let's talk about elimination. So elimination. So let's say
what are you eliminating?
You really want to start this, and you looked back at the week that you had, let's say, and looked at it and said, okay, I ate a lot of processed foods. How many times did you go through the drive-thru? How many Starbucks coffees did you have? How many calories are you really eating per day?
Right.
And the carb intake. But I think that's a big one.
But the carbs are lower in calorie.
Yes.
That's what's kind of like throws people.
But
and
it's the sugar
fat.
also.
Yeah,
I mean, how many sugary drinks are you? Soda is huge. People drink maybe
even diet.
Well, soda has issues with kidney. Okay, so let's not get into because that's a whole different thing for me.
And this is why I say it's not about
soda
calories.
Is good. It's
right.
not about, but it's terrible for your body.
Yeah,
you take a Coke and you pour it on things. It could be any kind of cleaner, and you're like, I'm putting that in my body.
Yeah, no kidding. No.
Yeah, because it'll take anything off.
It's a great cleaner.
Yeah, it's a great
household cleaner.
Yes, yeah.
You just soak stains on my carpet.
Yeah, you
blood
just soak
stains, whatever.
Well, I don't know. It depends. No, let's not talk about that. But if you have blood stains, probably hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide, yeah, 3% hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, don't do Coke because Coke can stain too.
Okay, so you're saying go back
and look.
Look at the whole week.
Right, look at the whole week, and what can I eliminate?
Right.
Maybe a week at a time. Let's say you're eating a lot of rice, so let's cut back on the rice. Mm-hmm. And then,
but the goal is to get under 50 grams.
Right, exactly.
I wouldn't recommend it right off the bat, but yeah. So look at look at the white and fluffy.
See what you're having, what you're eating.
Right.
And then, so take the rice out 1 week, take the bread, take the potatoes, take the pasta. You can do it slowly.
You don't have to be crazy and just
because then
dump it all.
People call it keto flu,
right. Yeah, it's way easier to ease into this versus going cold turkey and throwing all this stuff out.
Right, exactly. And then you don't feel like you're wasting. So let's say you have...
this is my last 20-pound bag of rice.
Right. Well... or maybe a family member wants it, so then you can give it away. Yeah. Or you can, take it to the homeless shelter.
Not your favorite family member, obviously. Yeah, I know.
But the thing
I would leave it at the laundromat. Stop. Just throw the food at the laundromat and go, okay, I'm not eating this. This stuff's been around in my house for way too long. Who bought this?
You could cook it and you could give it to your animals.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that what you feed your goats?
People have pigs.
Yeah.
I do have a pig.
Oh, that's cool.
No, but you could start eliminating it slowly.
Right.
And thinking about mindfully, okay, how many candy bars did you eat? Did you constantly snack? What about potato chips?
Right.
And
then I would also say, what's the environment that you're doing this? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
Kind of like what you kind of mentioned, mindfulness.
Emotion, right. Yeah. The whole emotion of going through change because, it's hard to change. You have to be in some kind of pain in order to
You got to turn
change.
off that autopilot. Mm-hmm. You can't just, here I am once again, I'm stuffing my mouth. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what I do with this particular activity. Sitting down, watching TV, this is what I'm doing before I go. Yeah, and we're on autopilot. We need to be more mindful and say, hey, what am I feeling? What's lacking in my life that's making me grab for more energy or comfort food?
Not even energy. I think it's comfort food. I think, when we had this wonderful thing called COVID that made a lot of people depressed and became eaters and drinkers. And
horrible for us.
We are social beings, whether a lot of us think so or not. We are. We have to have companionship.
You're listening to a podcast, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but they are. It's still
socialization is critical.
So we're socializing and we're bringing them into our conversation.
Yes, they're like right here at the table with us.
Right,
yeah, this is fun.
exactly.
Yeah, we have 1 million people at the table.
I
like that idea.
I don't know about 1 million people.
That would be very entertaining.
The 5 that show up.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so what else? So you got rid of the white crap.
Right.
So you're looking at, you're analyzing your food, figuring out what you're feeling.
And what can you add back? Because remember, when you have taught me, when you take out the carb, you got to put in another energy source, and now it's the fat.
Right.
So if you're going to start to decrease the carbs, you have to start increasing the fat, because with one goes down, the other one needs to go up, so you have an energy
But that's
source.
a huge change, because your plate doesn't look the same.
But if you do it slowly.
Right, but it's like, now I have, and this, maybe we could talk about eating out, but like, like you're different. You cannot ignore the fact that it's almost like you've kind of painted yourself in a corner, but there's more people in that corner with me now.
Yeah.
People don't look at me sideways when I ask for a burrito bowl, right?
No.
They're over it, right?
Or a salad and guess
with
meat on it.
Right.
No.
He doesn't need chips, so don't bring chips to the table.
Yeah.
He doesn't want bread. Don't bother him with the bread, okay? Stop, right? He's already told you before he even sits down that he doesn't want these items, because they know if I eat that bread prior to that meal, I'm going to be very likely to have dessert.
Oh yeah, because sugar on sugar.
Right, sugar on sugar. And then we also have this leptin signaling that satiety hormone is shut off. Like you
just want more.
Yeah, but so then what do you do? Your dish looks different. You don't have the white fluffy stuff. It may have vegetables, like you're swapping out vegetables for potatoes, right? You're adding healthier things onto your plate. But I'm not saying that I've evolved so much in my diet to the point where, like, if you mentioned broccoli to me, I would be like, nah, that's not going to work. I may get sick off that later.
I like broccoli.
Yeah. See, and this is one thing that you have to take into consideration. This is why I wouldn't jump in with both feet. Okay. Because if you go to this elimination diet where you're basically doing a carnivore,
well, you just eliminate. You don't necessarily have to go carnivore.
But this is where I would say, pay attention. See how you're feeling when you eat certain foods. How do you feel afterwards? Give it some time. Do you feel bloated? Are you gassy? Right? Is there some sort of, if you gave me some beans, even refried or otherwise,
oh yeah,
I will have gas, and I don't have gas. And as a dude, I mean, I really miss crop dusting at Walmart. I mean, that was fun. I don't have that. Sorry.
No, I laugh because that is so my husband crop dusting everywhere.
Right. Oh, I went
eats.
shopping with you guys yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
It was a couple days ago. Yeah,
that's right. Well, I didn't notice that.
No, he doesn't anymore.
Oh, good. Oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, no,
nice.
Because he's been on carnivore, or he's been on keto on and off.
It was really fun.
When he's not on keto,
he
can crop dust.
Right.
He can probably be the super crop
really?
duster.
Yeah. Well, I know.
I'm sorry, honey.
That I hate to say it's a huge relief not to worry about having side effects of food. I don't feel the side effects of the foods like I did before. Before I didn't notice it, I would have no idea what was causing anything. I thought it was normal.
Yeah, we all of a sudden we have lots of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of energy. And without the side effects, you don't feel bloated.
No.
Yeah.
I don't feel sick anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have, what's interesting.
But if you do, you're like, what happened? What did I eat?
Yeah.
Who caused that, basically?
Uh-huh. And I don't have heartburn anymmore.
Indigestion, reflux.
I don't have it anymore, which was very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, where did it go?
Right. Did you ever get diagnosed with gastroesophageal reflux disease or GERD?
Well,
this is super common.
I don't know.
So many people are reaching for antacids. Pepsid.
Yeah.
I used to take.
Yeah, I used
Nexium.
to just take Rolaids or Tums.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it hurt.
Oh yeah.
You're splashing these acids into your esophagus.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I'd wake up and go, I got to go take a Tums.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
but all
horrible.
of a sudden it was gone.
Oh, that's so nice.
It was probably one of the most beneficial things.
I can't think of anything worse than adding fat to that. So you eat a bunch of carbs and you have fat in there as well. So fat kind of slows it down. You got all these acids. It's not going anywhere and it's splashing onto your esophagus and it's going to do that for hours. And then people take these medications that decrease acid. And we just talked about how important acid is for protein absorption, right? And digestion. And so and as you get older, you have less acid, and then you're changing the pH of your stomach from 2 to 5, right? So it is like 1,000 times less acidic. That is going to affect your protein absorption without a doubt. And it's very common, especially as a pharmacist. I would see this all the time.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, your reflux, maybe if you stopped and chilled out on your grains, you wouldn't have this reflux and you would need this medication. But aren't you the pharmacist? You're supposed to be recommending this stuff.
But it's hard when you're being barraged with what, grains are good. And, carbs are good. And
it's sad.
It is. But, now we have more people are talking about
this is great.
Cutting the carbs.
I didn't think I would ever be doing this. I thought it was like there's no way I can convince people to fast. There's no way I can convince people that it was carbohydrates that were the problem. It's so nice to
be able to
have
talk
this
about
discussion.
It. Yeah,
it's awesome.
And at least bring this knowledge to people, especially when they're watching TV and all the ads are about processed food and being vegan or vegetarian. And
I made some changes, and I realized I was like, okay, in order for me to be successful, I needed to prepare. Preparation was everything.
That's
meal planning was huge for me, and it was like I would gather my items, and then Sunday afternoon was like I made my egg muffins, I made my soups, and I try to combine. So like, if I'm going to chop up this onions or whatever it is, I'm going to chop up onions for 2 different recipes, and then I'd have everything batched out for the whole week.
Yeah,
and it brought my anxiety level way down. I didn't eat out. Everyone else is going out to lunch, getting pizza and whatever. Like, no, I'm good. I'm so good. I got all my soups frozen, and I would put them in the work freezer. Oh, and I'd have all these soups in there, and some of the girls would be like, "Hey, do you mind if I have one of your soups?" Like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, that smells so good. It smells like home cooking. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I cooked it like maybe a month ago, but it was still good, right? So if I would do like hot Italian sausage in my eggs. So I would make basically these egg muffin trays with silicone muffin trays, and I would just make an omelet, cheese, meat, vegetables, whatever, and I would cook them for 350 for 20 minutes or something like that. And now we make the Instapot egg bites from Star. Oh, those are so good. So amazing. Yeah. I didn't have that appliance at that time. So now that I have an Instapot, an air fryer.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also now, if you're in a pinch, I have these little egg trays. You put a little bit of water in them, and then you put your egg in the water, and it seems kind of strange, but then you could then microwave like 2 eggs at a time, and you get like this nice poached egg. You got to play with the time with that microwave. It's usually like 2 minutes, 15 seconds for 4 eggs. That with some bacon, which, stays in the fridge all the time. I mean, a true ketogenic person always has bacon in the fridge, right? It's all chopped up and, you've got bacon. Bacon's amazing.
Yeah, you can cook a whole thing of it and then just portion it out.
Because it's so loaded in saturated fat, and it'll stay like that forever. It's nice. And so, I always had something. My anxiety level dropped. I never ate. I saved a ton of money, right? My grocery bill's small, and I don't have to eat very much because it's satiating. I'm satisfied, and my energy level's amazing. I love it, and it's very, very rare that I have to go somewhere. That would be an unplanned trip if I was going somewhere without my food. And now I have a fridge in the van, so I always got food there.
That's cool.
Now I run into the truck stop or wherever I'm at, heat something up, and of course everyone's around you, and you're feeling all embarrassed, like, oh, I'm heating up my ribs in the truck stop, right? And
but truckers do it too.
Yeah, but I'm saying you could go anywhere. You can do this. Not to mention now at the truck stops, they have this center section and they usually have eggs. They've got cheese and salami, which you can do as well. Roll that stuff up. You don't need a lot. The quantity is significantly less.
Yeah, they have those pre-packed.
The little wraps.
pre-pack wraps that you can get.
And you can add cream cheese to that. There's always some sort of cheese.
You could just get some kind of, even ranch. I mean, this ranch is
Right. If you're in a pinch, you could do it, right? It's not impossible to travel. It's not impossible.
No, it's not.
To go to work and have your stuff prepared and be ready for success. Get a whole bunch of Tupperware.
Yes.
Figure it out. Portion it out. Don't chintz yourself, though.
No, I think that's the most important thing.
Eat till you're satisfied.
Eat till you're satisfied.
And you will be satisfied. And that's what I think a lot of people are afraid of. They think if I do the ketogenic diet or fast, I'm not going to have enough food. I'll still be hungry. That's probably the biggest fear is hunger.
Well, I mean, so you just prep, like you said. Let's talk about prepping. So on Sundays, a lot of us, I guess Sundays is the day because that's when we think about it.
It's the day before the worst day of the week, Monday.
Monday, right. But we prep, we think about what are we going to have for dinner. We think about what are we going to eat for lunch. We don't think about breakfast at all. We don't eat breakfast. I'm a coffee. I drink one cup of coffee.
But your first meal of the day is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like you're not eating typically in the morning. Yeah. And you're not hungry in the morning.
No, sometimes it depends. If I get a little stressed, then I want some. I'll do nuts, or I'll this new thing is cracklings, I guess.
Chicharrones?
I love chicharrones. But so I didn't know if people knew that. So
it's pork rinds.
Yeah, it's pork
rinds. Yeah, it's fat. But you got to be careful what it's cooked in. I mean, typically you don't want to do a lot of deep fried stuff, but it is very, very satisfying.
Even
very
if you
satiating.
do deep fried stuff, I tell people it's about the beginning. Don't trip on it.
And the other thing is, don't fear salt.
See, that's what I've always feared, because I have swelling. And then people, they fear salt because of their cardiologist.
Yeah. That's going to cause hypertension. Yes, it will cause hypertension for a very short period of time until the amount of water that you take in with it, because the salt typically makes you quite thirsty. Eventually your kidneys will catch up and they'll dump the excess water.
But that's what happens when you go into ketosis.
Oh, for sure. Okay. For sure.
So you dump all this water.
And you need about 5 grams. If you're going to start counting, it's about 5 grams per day is like the normal average. So everything's kind of like this giant U curve in nature. It's like having not enough can cause death. Having way too much can cause death, right? Mortality goes up at the outer ends. But the middle is 5 grams. Not the 2.3 grams that they recommend. Matter of fact, you can get sicker and increase mortality if you follow the current recommendations of 2.3 grams of sodium per day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because what it will do, the body will start releasing more insulin to try to hold on to salt and sodium.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's actually, it's worse for you. 2.3 grams is a horrible recommendation. Thank you once again, bad science. So 5 grams, don't fear salt. Put salt on your food, right? The concern is, like, if you eat a bunch of processed food, the things with barcodes are designed to, have a shelf life of 10 years. It's going to be loaded with sodium. So, I do salt my foods. Absolutely. It would taste horrible without it, and it's natural, and I would die without it. Stop fearing salt, right?
I'll try that. We'll see.
Yeah. Because
but the
really,
thing is I eat salted nuts now.
Right.
And
right. You're probably craving the salt.
I'm probably craving the salt.
Yeah, I would agree with Zoe Harcum, as I've eliminated nuts from my diet, and it's an addiction. Snacking is kind of an addiction.
It's a big addiction.
Yeah. It's like, why if you graze, you'll look like an animal that grazes. That's horrible.
Yes.
I can't believe I said that.
It's okay.
That's from Zoe.
No,
Zoe Harcum.
But I think that's important. Mm-hmm. You have to tell people that.
It's high in calories if you want to meet, but it's good, healthy fat. Ask yourself, why am I grabbing this? Is this my meal? Or is my meal in 2 hours from now when
meal.
Right, exactly. So that's where, like, if you hit a plateau when it comes to weight loss, then reevaluate and go, all right, am I eating too much nuts? Am I eating too much full-fat dairy, right? Is it my calories? I don't know. That's what you got to evaluate.
So let's talk about meals, like what meals may look like for people who want to do this.
Okay, so I would say this is for all the barbecuers in the world. This is for like half of the population. Men, we love meat. We love to barbecue.
Yes.
It's fun. It's fire. Men love fire. So when you cook your steaks, don't cook a steak.
No.
Cook 4 of them. Slice it all up. Put it in your Tupperware, Ziplocs, whatever. Freeze it, refrigerate it, take it to work. It's fine.
Portion it out.
Maybe you have some meat with cheese, right?
Yes.
That's all you need. That's all I need. It's right.
Yeah. I it's hard used to being a vegetarian and stuff.
Oh.
I like vegetables.
This is sinful. Yes.
Yeah.
You like
so
vegetables.
I do like vegetables, My mom used to just shake her head because my favorite vegetables, which is, you're going to just die, is spinach, because it's,
mine was Brussels sprouts when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
All
spinach.
my siblings would be like, "Hey, Kyle, you got my Brussels sprouts? I got you covered. You got my broccoli? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's how we covered for each other.
Yeah, yeah. My
Otherwise,
sister
it was like the
hates
timer's
spinach.
going on, and you're gonna get a spanking in 5 minutes. Right? You're like, oh, because there's people dying in Africa who's starving.
Yeah, I don't know if
and
I got that.
Somehow,
I don't remember all
somehow
of
it was your fault. There was guilt and shame associated with
well, there
having
was.
a plate that
if
was.
you didn't finish. Yeah.
But there was a reason why you didn't like
Yeah,
those things.
I know. Yeah.
all right.
Except for spinach. I mean,
Oxalates.
My mom used to tell this story. I was at the doctor's office and the doctor was like, "Oh, you're better. You don't have to eat your spinach anymore." And I started crying. And my mom looked at him and she goes, "She loves spinach. She can have spinach."
Wow.
And the doctor was like, "What? Like, I'm a freak."
I think you watched too much Popeye.
No,
My mom did
I
not
didn't really like Popeye.
No, olive oil and Popeye. Yeah, that was like spinach was supposed to be like that superfood, and I felt like, well, I must have growth retardation because I don't like spinach.
No, I mean, you don't have to, and you don't have to like anything. You don't have to eat it.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me what else do you batch cook? And how, how do
Okay,
you-
so what do I batch cook? Okay, so we my husband loves, of course, to barbecue. He's a major. We have a camp chef actually that was just a few $100s from Walmart, and we've had it for years now.
Right.
And it is a workhorse.
skillet with the barbecue box?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
So-
Triple burner?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my
three
husband's
burns.
thing.
Yeah, that's
no,
cool.
it's just I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's a pellet. It's
the
it's
pellet
a
one.
smoker.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
nah,
smoker.
you guys
So
high end.
he is, yes,
That's cool.
he is, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I also bought him a Blackstone.
And he spices it up. I'm
He
sure.
does,
Yes.
yeah. So
Spice it
he
up.
makes tri-tip. So we go to Costco or Costless or I think those are the two places, and we buy huge packs.
Yeah. So you do bulk to
He
save
does
money
a lot of bulk
and get it for cheap.
And then what he does is he smokes it and then cuts it up. We put it in a thing and then we weigh it out each night, depending upon how much each one of us wants. And then he also does pork. He does huge pork roasts.
Yeah.
We go, of course, Costco, and then I think Costless, and then also Grocery Outlet. I think Grocery Outlet.
Pork
has it.
is a lot of fat,
Yeah.
and we're not fearing fat.
No.
We
I
love the pig.
I love pork.
Yeah,
Even
pork is
though
wonderful.
I have a pig. His name's Sebastian, and I'm sorry, Sebastian.
We're eating all your friends. That's okay.
So
He didn't
that's
know
fine.
them.
No,
They didn't have a
and I don't
relationship.
associate him with eating, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
Except he associates himself with eating, but
Right.
that's a whole different story. Let's see. And we batch cook chicken once in a while. We batch cook. I am craving ribs, so we're going to do ribs on Sunday.
Ribs, beef or
Beef,
pork?
and then pork.
Okay, so when you do this, you're not smothering it in sauce.
No,
right?
actually, I think salt, pepper. He has this Pappy's rub that he likes.
Right. So get rid of the sauce.
I'm giving away
add the
all his
seasoning.
trade secrets.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Oh, I'm taking
So
notes.
I'm
going to your house for
he's
barbecue.
an amazing. I have been blessed with like an amazing cook.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah.
amazing. I just
Yeah.
of
Oh,
course I
now
love
I'm going
him
to be
death,
embarrassed
too.
if I have you guys over for dinner. Yeah, this is my ribeye with ketchup.
No,
I'm just
don't
kidding.
put ketchup on it. No. And then of course he'll do ribeyes. But what he does with the ribeyes is we go and we buy a huge ribeye, and then he cuts
It's prime.
Yeah,
Right.
because we live in Calaveras County, but in Jackson, Costless Food, they have the huge ones in the pack, and
Do you hand it to them when they slice it for you?
they will slice it for you.
Oh, that's so nice.
And he says, I
You're
want
lucky.
1 inch. I want 1 inch
Wow.
slices. So they'll slice it for us, and then we'll buy it.
Otherwise,
or
it's a
sometimes
bloody
he
mess.
doesn't.
It's a nightmare.
Well, no,
Yeah.
he doesn't mind that.
Okay.
Where I'm a little.
Yeah, it's work. That's work. But you're working to save money.
I'd do it if I had to. I mean, my grandfather, one of my grandparents, he was a butcher back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know him then, but he was a butcher. So they always slaughtered things.
Right.
They went hunting and they slaughtered their meat.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that was
Elk
just
meat.
the way.
Yeah.
Well, he did deer. They did a lot of deer.
Venison,
We
right.
were really lucky. My grandmother cooked everything from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail. And
Wow. Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
we were We were blessed.
That's nice.
And then
eat the whole animal.
skip
the sides.
Except for now, I don't know about venison. I don't have the taste for it. But then we do fish, but that's only, we don't batch cook, you know.
Freshness is an issue.
Yeah, no, you have to have fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a struggle for many people when it comes to eating fish. We probably don't eat enough fish, probably because we don't have a really good supply.
Yeah, and then also people don't know how to cook it. And now there's, you can do poke. It's a little expensive right now because tuna's out of control with price-wise. But,
and they're slightly endangered.
Yeah, but you can also do salmon. Salmon's also, you know, a whole nother issue because you don't want
wild
farm.
Caught.
You want wild.
Caught, right.
Because you don't know what they're doing, the farm ones.
I wonder if we're going to be more into aquaculture, but I was just looking at like regenerative farming, like these. I mean, we have different grades of meat, and it would be ideal to get grass-fed, but we're not always getting.
But you could be lucky with grass finished is fine.
Right. But you know, it doesn't have to be so expensive. When you start like talking about what you're doing and like batching this out, it's not that expensive because the volume is so much less.
Yeah, and they have sales all the time. So if you see the sale, like $4.99 a pound for you know.
But if you switch to this diet, you're not going to be needing 3 to 4 meals a day with snacks.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think how much money you're saving there.
No, I do.
And you mentioned Starbucks. Think how much money people.
Oh yeah, Starbucks is crazy. $8 for like a drink.
For a coffee,
and like, it's just like fancy foo-foo one. And what we did was we just got a Keurig, or we used to have this, you know, $20 coffee maker. Yeah, you know, and
doesn't
we
take
just
much.
I mean, then just buy beans and you can get them ground anywhere.
So you'd be surprised how little you have to spend on a low carb ketogenic diet. Mm-hmm. It's really not that much. First of all, you can get rid of one meal altogether. The super sweet. Carb-loaded breakfast, because breakfast is breakfast can be any time of day. You don't have to eat in the morning.
I watch, you know, you donuts. You could get rid of those.
Those are cheap, right?
Yeah.
But man,
donuts are cheap, but fried dough is cheap.
They make you hungry before lunchtime.
But you're hungry in 2 hours. Yeah. It's like Chinese food.
Yeah, loaded with rice.
Pasta's cheap, but you know there's not a lot you're getting from pasta. You got to put the sauce on, you got to put the meat on, you got to put the veggies in. Yeah,
and you will be hungry later. And we know from looking at continuous glucose monitors, right? CGMs, we know that when you eat these things, your blood sugar rises incredibly, and you don't end up where you started.
No.
You may start at 90, but after you finish your little spike and come back down like 3 hours later, you're sitting in the 40s and 50s because you are now, you release too much insulin. If you have insulin resistance, which 80% of the population has, your blood sugar is going to be lower. You're going to be ready for a snack.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
I was always ready for a snack.
Yeah, you never said no. And you're always looking.
Yeah.
Like, where is it? And you couldn't ignore it.
Yeah. My favorite, apple fritter.
Wow. I can't remember the last. But I mean, I feel like this is like freedom from food. I don't feel like I'm enslaved anymore to my cravings and energy.
You have to think about it constantly. What am I eating? What am I eating?
When's my next meal? Right. What's for dinner? What's for
and then
lunch?
when we food prep, we don't have to think about it at all. It's a no-brainer.
Takes that out of that's completely out of the equation, and now you can spending less time going to get it.
Yeah. And I when I meal prep, I take all of my food I work Monday through Thursday, so I put all of my food in the fridge for the entire week. Yeah. And I don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, it's less
I'm like, I walk in there and I put it together and I eat it and I'm done.
Versus it seems like you get to work and the first discussion is like, hey,
sometimes it
let's
can
plan
be that
this
too.
lunch now, right?
Well, I don't know. I talk about food.
It's like the party planning committee is going to get together and come up with something for lunch, right? And my dog had a birthday, and here's some leftovers from that party. Here's the cake, right?
Yeah.
There are desserts, and I used to make this a lot, and it was fat bombs. It was mostly coconut oil, and unsweetened cocoa.
Oh, interesting.
So coconut oil, but it was you have to like refrigerate it, freeze it, and when you did eat it, it was a mess. It was like you didn't hold it in your hand for very long because it would just melt.
No, we used to make them, and I got these little squares, but we made it with coconut oil and with Isopure protein powder.
Oh,
and then
really?
a little.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's really good. And then
I used to do peanut butter.
Oh, See, I'm a big peanut
Creamy
butter
peanut
girl.
butter. Yeah, I love peanut butter.
So
That is a really good dessert.
Yeah, when we were growing up, we ate a lot of tortillas. So I found these great low carb tortillas, and I slather them with peanut butter and roll them up because I still love my peanut butter tortillas.
I've tested those. They're not as healthy as we think. Like
they're not.
And then we also like
it's
ketogenic.
Still my comfort food
Right.
from back when I was a little girl. I know. I'm sorry.
You know what I really like is those. This sounds horrible. This is confession time. The keto bars at grocery outlet.
Oh.
They're also at Costco as well, and it's basically heavy cream and dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is not a horrible dessert.
Oh no, we actually have some low carb kind of dark chocolate, but it's the cacao.
Yeah, it's like 80,
yeah.
like above 85%.
Yeah.
It may taste a little bit bitter, which is
But after
it's
a
not
while,
horrible.
it's not terrible because as you're eating this, as you change and eat this type of lifestyle, like with
anything
no carbs,
sweet is
yes,
wicked.
it has changed my taste buds.
Your palate has totally changed.
But I like savory.
Yeah, you swapped out sweetness for savory.
Yeah, I was a 50-50 girl before, but
Right.
now for sure I'm more savory than I am sweet. But when I eat that type of like cacao, like chocolate bar or whatever, or just a piece, actually it's a little square.
Yeah, but you don't typically finish the whole bar and work on another one.
Actually just one little square is satisfying.
It doesn't take much.
No,
Yeah,
and the
it's
bar
nice that
lasts
way.
for like a week.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I also think like if you look back and you go, all right, sweetness is not controllable. This is something that when that sweetness hits your tongue, that is a normal, natural reaction for dopamine levels to rise and that reward center to kick in. That's normal. That's to keep you from grabbing something that's bitter. The sweetness, it has a purpose. And you're supposed to seek after high calorie density food that would be sweet, like fruit. And fruit really, if you think about the gauge of fruit, and I'm excluding a lot of the fruit that, more like a strawberry, is kind of like that sweet, that's about as sweet.
Bitterish,
That's about as sweet as it should get. When you exceed that, you got problems.
Well, and then berries are also kind of a low carb food.
A low carb strawberries, right? Strawberries, blackberries, raspberries,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I love blueberries.
Right. But that's as sweet as it should get. Compare that to what you get at Starbucks, or compare that to donuts and desserts and pastries and stuff like that. It's significantly sweeter. You can't handle that anymore. That would drive you nuts. It has to be diluted down.
It's too much.
So actually
Even
eating
before
dark
it was
chocolate
too much,
actually has that effect. Like it's just the right amount of, and then really isn't. It's not that sweet. I'm not telling people, hey, go out and get a bunch of bars.
But I also
of
think
dark chocolate.
if you are craving something, maybe that's your go-to.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to totally eliminate everything that you've ever
that won't
loved.
spike your insulin before you go to bed. Okay. First of all, I would recommend don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed anyways.
Well, that's hard to do.
It's always hard to do.
Because that's what I'm eating.
Because that's right. But that's like that parasympathetic mode where you're getting ready for bed, and that's the same, getting ready to sleep. It's also
I never
for
snacked
feeding.
at night. I've never snacked. I'm not a midnight snacker.
That's good for you. Yeah.
No, I've never been. I eat dinner, but then 2 hours later, I'm in bed.
That's good. Good for you. Yeah.
I don't know if that's good for me, but it's the way it is. But I think also then maybe have people think about, okay, am I a midnight snacker? Maybe just cut that part out too.
Just go to bed.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean,
imagine the benefit, though,
if you have to
sleeping.
snack on something, then make something that's a little different.
And I would also say willpower has a lot to do with this. If you try and you work on your willpower all day long, the chances of you failing at night are significantly high.
So
you're working that willpower. I was really good at work today. And this is just a natural thing. Mm-hmm. This is normal. Don't beat yourself up about this.
Yeah, it's I can see where that is an issue.
It's like, let's be mindful. Okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? It would be better for me to go to bed. What are my choices, right? And there's good, better, best when it comes to choices. If you're really good, you'll get rid of the worst things out of your house. If you don't buy it, you don't eat it.
You don't eat it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of seems like a no-brainer. But when you're at the grocery store, eat before you go, right? Don't go into the grocery store hungry.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah. Everybody knows these things, right? Everybody knows to shop the perimeter of the store, right? Everything's processed and everything has barcodes and everything's laced with sugar. Everything's souped up and doped up to make you buy more. And as soon as you get out of that mindset, like, hey, this food is just hijacking my brain. Switch this out. Get rid of the carbs. Hunger goes away. I'm going to eat something that actually makes me feel satisfied.
And I actually may make you feel better.
Feel amazingly better. But it's typically high fat, high protein. That's animal.
Now with protein, ratio. What's the ratio per kilogram that we're supposed to eat? Like 1.5
and above.
1.5 and above. 1.5 grams.
If you're a bodybuilder, you're like 2.5 grams per kilo.
So like 1.5 grams per kilogram.
Yeah, it's like between 1.5 and like 1.8, right?
Because I think that's important because women, as we get older, we're not eating a lot of protein.
What are you eating instead?
Well, no, I mean in general, they're not eating a lot of protein.
They're shying away from it. Yeah, and that's something we got to prioritize. Protein. Protein is the most important part here, right? Lower the carbs, which will naturally happen as you prioritize protein, right? Otherwise, like protein and fat come together in this beautiful 1-to-1 ratio. Otherwise, with protein and carbohydrates, that's plant matter. You're getting carbs with protein with plants, like soybean, right? Like it's
soybean's not good.
No, you're getting carbohydrates and protein, flaxseed, and all like these things are loaded really with carbohydrates and protein, and we think that we're getting the protein that we need, right? But you're getting it with carbohydrates, which is spiking your insulin level. Ditch that, right? If you look at Zoe Harcum's lovely talk about, basically ditching the carbohydrates in your diet, basically pushes you into a fat protein prioritized diet, and that would come from animal sources. So meat, eggs, right? Full fat dairy, fish. You can do nuts and seeds. It is a kind of as she describes, a moreish food where you keep wanting more, and that could be the salt. But anyways, that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So, thanks for tuning in. This is, I love how we touched on eating out, food prep, right? Different food groups. I hope that they got a good idea of the practical sense of how it's actually really easy to do this. Don't be scared, right? Don't freak out. I like your idea of looking at everything that you're eating throughout a week. Count your carbs, essentially. Figure out what you can get rid of, right? And then pay attention to how you're feeling. Be mindful of what you're feeling when you're eating. And if things don't feel right, ask yourself why, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. This was another episode of the Unscripted Pharmacist Podcast. Thank you, Lenora.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
You've been listening to the Unscripted Pharmacist Podcast with Kyle Rootsaert and Lenora Casey. Please like our program by clicking on the thumbs up button. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, please jot us a note in the comment section. And be sure to subscribe to the Unscripted Pharmacist Podcast. Produced by Chris Stevenson, recorded at the studios of Calaveras Community Television. Thanks for listening.